Hi Kids Club Family Live, hi Kids Club Kids. We are here on Zoom doing a very special recording this week because we've got a very special guest. This is the lovely Ann Wilkinson. Hello Ann, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hello Sarah, thank you for having me.
It's very special to have Ann with us here today, kids, because Ann was actually almost 7 years old, which is the same age as some of you, when World War II started. And do you know what? Ann is actually here today to share with us a little bit of what that was like, because as many of you will know, during World War II, things changed massively for children. A little bit like how at the moment in this pandemic, things have suddenly changed in your lives. And so Ann has got a lifetime of experience to share with us and to share with us what that was like for her as a little girl. So thank you, Ann, for being with us to share about that. And I've got my first question for you, Ann, is you were nearly 7 when World War II started.
Yes.
What was that like for you as a little girl? How did you experience that?
Well, it was very frightening because we listened to the government and they told us that the enemy might send poisonous gas to kill us all. And so the first thing that happened was we were all given a mask that we had to take with us everywhere. We didn't have to wear it all the time, but it was a really horrid thing. It was a sort of rubber thing that fitted right over your face, with sort of glasses at the front and a big thing stuck out at the front to filter out any poisonous gases. In actual fact, no, the enemy never did use gas on us, but they had done that in the previous war, and so it was a real fear.
And of course, the children and adults are now having to wear masks for different reasons, but that was a similar experience for you when you were a little girl. Was there anything else that was similar that you experienced during that time?
Yeah, the next thing that happened, well, right at the beginning of the war, all the schools closed down for 4 months. And a lot of people were sent into the country to be safe if the enemy sent over bombers airplanes that would drop bombs on us. And for some reason, I didn't go because I lived on the edge of Leeds, not right in the middle of Leeds. So I stayed at home with Mummy and Daddy, and I had a big sister and little sister called Pat and Christine. So we were Pat, Ann and Christine. But I couldn't go to school for about 4 months. And everybody said, oh, it would be over by Christmas. But it wasn't. It went on and on and on and on. And I got to 8 and 9 and 10, 11, 12. It was terrible.
It went on for a long time.
I missed seeing my friends at school because where I lived, I didn't really have any friends to play with. And my little sister was too young. My older sister was quite a lot older than me. So, yeah, I missed my friends.
I imagine a lot of our children listening today will be able to relate to what you're saying. And how did you cope at the time? What did you do that helped you?
Well, we played games inside. It was a bit like lockdown because we knew that enemy planes were going to fly over at night. We had to be very sure that we didn't have any light anywhere. So after about 3:30, especially in the winter, it was very dark outside. There were no lights at all. And if a chink of light was coming out of your house, somebody outside would shout, put that light out. You had to be really careful to cover all your windows so that no light went out, because we didn't want the enemy bombers to see where there was a town.
So it was lockdown plus all these extra things that we can't really imagine what that must have been like for you as a little girl.
We played indoor games and we did different crafts. I was part of a thing a bit like Kidz Klub that was called Sunday School. And so we used to get crafts and things suggested that we could do at home.
Yeah.
But there was no internet, there was no television.
No iPads to learn at school from school at home.
Nothing like that at all. We had no equipment of that kind at all. There was no internet, no television. But we did have speeches from the Prime Minister. And in those days, we all loved the Prime Minister. He was called Winston Churchill. And he used to give speeches on the radio. So we could listen to his speeches to the nation. And he was so encouraging. He made us feel better every time we listened to him.
Yeah, that's very, very special to hear what that experience was like for you, even as a little girl, how that encouraged you as a young person.
And the other thing that we did was we all helped each other. We helped the neighbours, and we were concerned about the elderly and people who couldn't manage very well. Everybody, there was what we call a very good community spirit all through the war. Everybody wanted to help everybody because we were all fighting the same enemy. And today everybody's fighting the same enemy, the pandemic.
Yeah. You said people went outside and clapped as well?
Well, at the end of the war they did. We didn't have the clapping. The children will remember clapping to cheer the nurses and doctors. We didn't have that, but we used to. At the end of the war, we went out and danced in the street and lit bonfires and had fireworks and things we hadn't been able to have all those years.
Yeah. And what was that like for you, Anne, that experience of coming out of the war? Because obviously things were probably still quite hard for a while as you came out of the war. And we're thinking about slowly coming out of this pandemic and hoping that the children are hoping that they'll all be back to normal in no time. But that took a while for you, didn't it, after the war?
Yes, it did. We were all wanting everything to get back to normal. But the war did end and we did survive. And it was ask me the question again.
Have you got any advice for the children as what was it like when you came out of the war? It took time.
Yes.
It might take time for us.
For the first time in years, we went to the seaside for the day, and I got some new clothes, and we had a hairdresser who cut our hair for the first time in years. My daddy had cut our hair, which wasn't a great success. So there were some very nice things.
Yeah. And did you have to be patient?
It was very gradual. It didn't snap back into place into normal straight away. It took a while. Things had to get better gradually.
Yeah. It's incredible to be able to hear what it was actually like for you. And I think for the children, for our children at Kidz Klub, it's such an incredible privilege to meet somebody who lived through a very, very difficult time in history, and you know, you come out the other side of it, and that can give us all some hope, that though you did experience some very difficult times, I know, didn't you, Anne?
Well, it was hard for children, but it was a lot harder for mothers. We drove our mothers crackers. And but one of the things that we did a lot during the war, we used to make a lot of jokes about it. And I've seen a lot of jokes. I don't know if you older children have seen jokes on Facebook or anywhere, jokes about the pandemic. And I saw a funny one the other day of a mother waving goodbye to her two children who were setting off for school. And she said, "Look, I know school doesn't start for another week, but walk very, very slowly." So we made lots of jokes during the war. We had a lot of laughs. And even though we couldn't go out very much, it was, it was okay for us. But I was very fortunate that I had a lovely daddy. And, he looked after us very, very well.
So sticking together as a family, looking out for community, and laughing, they seem to be common themes to how you got
Yeah.
through.
And we used to pray every night as well at bedtime. We always used to pray. We had quite a lot of different prayers. We used to pray at bedtime so that Jesus would keep us safe through the night. And it was a real fear, because sometimes we had to get up in the night because we could hear the aeroplanes coming over from the enemy, and we thought they might drop a bomb on our house. So that was obviously very scary, but we got through it. And we got used to it because it never happened. They never dropped a bomb on us.
Yeah. So that was just a very real example of how you found safety in prayer and comfort in prayer. How have you got any advice for the children, Anne? As having gone through all that experience yourself as a young person, and all the similarities we've heard about, and obviously we're just so grateful to you and your generation for everything that you went through on our behalf. So we want to say a massive thank you to you and very much honour your generation. But what advice?
Well, my advice to the children would be, listen to your mum and dad, do as you're told, try and be as helpful as possible, because this is a very difficult time for grown-ups. And listen to Sarah and get on to Kidz Klub as often as you possibly can, because you want to get to know Jesus better and better and better, because the better you know him, the more you'll find that he helps you in every circumstance right throughout life. I'm 88 years old, and I still need him to help me every day.
That's so special, Anne. And it's so true, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you're 7 years old or you're 83 years old. We all need him every moment of every day. And he's the God of all of our life, isn't he? He's the rock all the way through that doesn't change, even when things around us are so changing and uncertain and sometimes scary as well. But that's so true, that the kids can trust him. So that's amazing advice.
You might have some people who are good at arithmetic. I'm 88 years old.
88.
Yes.
I'm getting my sums wrong there.
I feel I feel a lot younger.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly, I don't know many 88-year-olds on Zoom, and it's incredible. Yeah, well, that is just such fantastic advice, Anne, and thank you so much it's such an honour to hear your story and to hear how similar things were during the World War II for you as a little girl, and kids, I really hope that you can draw some strength from all this advice that Anne has given us today, for how it was for her as a child going through the war, and in this time where things are uncertain for us, we can hear from people like Anne that they went through similar times and they've come through it. And they've come through it with God being their rock, with Jesus helping them, and by loving each other and community as well. So there's some really big lessons for us to learn there from Anne. And thank you, Anne, so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us, and for everything that your generation have been through for our nation and to bring peace.